Some recipes just have that craveable, magical aspect to them. They are tried and true, and you make them year after year. Welcome to Meals with Maria. Today I have magical, craveable, tried and true recipes that I make year after year. They're things that every time December rolls around, I have to have. And I figured I would share them with you because I think that it's worth it. We need to take a look at the things that are good again and again. It's not always about all new recipes, and these recipes may be new to you, but I need to share my repertoire and my favorites. I also wanted to say that this video is in collaboration with Tiffany over at Small Town 6. She has a fabulous channel. She does budget-friendly grocery hauls, stock ups, and amazing recipes that are, again, budget-friendly. She is super budget conscious, like I try to be, and just love her channel. She has a lot of love over there, so go ahead and make sure to check out her video at the end of this one. I'll put it in the description box down below and show her some love.
I did also want to mention that Tiffany has an amazing store called Small Town Apparel, and I'll leave the website down in the description box, where she has the cutest shirts, and you can also get custom stuff if you message her directly.
And if you're coming over from Tiffany's channel, welcome. I am so happy to have you, and let's make some meals.
So for this Christmas in your crockpot recipe, I'm making one of my favorite sides, and a side that I've actually gotten my family members and my husband, who was a big hater on the cabbage for many years, to eat. He absolutely loves this recipe, so I'm super excited to share it with you guys. And also I think that it's just so holiday flavored, really, because you've got your cabbage and your apples, so it has this sweet flavor, and then it has cider vinegar. So we're going to use, it's 8 cups of shredded cabbage, but we'll be using this whole head likely. Then 4 Granny Smith apples, a half a cup of cider vinegar, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and have 1 diced onion, and then a 1.5 cups of hot water. So I don't have that yet. We're actually just going to cut everything up. We're going to core, peel, and dice the apples. Slice this thinly, chop that, and then add the water. We'll put everything right in the crock pot here. And then we're going to set it on, I'm going to set it for high for 4 hours, but you can also cook it on low for 8. So it depends on how you want to do it, but I just think this is a magical holiday side, and I'm going to get started on it. So 2 things I want to say about this one. I did end up cooking it an hour longer because I think I put a little more than 8 cups of cabbage in there, but overall it was really good, and my 5-year-old said he loved it, so that's amazing. We ended up serving this with some chicken, and you'll see this recipe later in the week, but the cabbage turned out amazing, and I think you could serve this with the pot roast as well. So if you have a couple slow cookers, you could absolutely make this. Or if you have an Instant Pot, I do have an Instant Pot recipe in a different video I will link for. Now my next side dish is garlic Parmesan potatoes. Oh my goodness. Are you guys sick of seeing me cut vegetables like this? Oh my God. You know what? It gets it done, and it worked out fine. So you want to take your red potatoes and cut them into wedges. This dish is awesome because it's so easy. You can even make it with a baby. So I'm using about 3 pounds of red potatoes, or what equals about 8 cups. Put those all inside of your slow cooker, and now I'm making the sauce. You're gonna need a 1/4 cup of olive oil, a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. I did read after that you're supposed to put the Parmesan after, but I made it as part of the sauce and it still turned out delicious. So you wanna use 3 teaspoons of minced garlic, then a teaspoon of oregano and a teaspoon of thyme, as well as a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Now mix that all up and then pour it over your potatoes in your slow cooker and cook that on high for 4 hours. Like I said, you can do it this way. I thought it turned out great. Or you could make your olive oil mixture and then pour the Parmesan cheese over the potatoes afterwards. I haven't tried it that way yet, but I'm sure it's delicious. And these are amazing. They are so creamy, so good. It's like a roasted potato, but you cooked it in your crock pot, and I just have never had anything so awesome come out of the crock pot. Like, that's not like mushy, you know, they cook perfectly. And I actually had some left over the next day, and I threw them on a sheet pan and roasted them, and they're delicious that way as well. Now, the Pioneer Woman version of this is actually fresh corn casserole, but I did not have fresh corn, so we used frozen, and it turned out amazing. This is actually up there with my Jiffy corn casserole. I'm actually not sure which one I'm going to serve. I'm just starting with 1 pound of frozen corn, 2/3 a cup of heavy cream, salt and pepper. You can do like a half a teaspoon of salt and a sprinkle of ground pepper, and 3 tablespoons of melted butter. You just want to mix that all together in your pan and then bake at 350 degrees for about 35 minutes until thoroughly warm through. You can see mine was delicious and bubbly when it came out, and the whole family was obsessed. My husband was absolutely blown away. He's like, this is the best corn. I think he prefers this to the corn casserole. The kids still say the Jiffy corn casserole is their number one, but it's going to be a tough call when it comes time for Christmas, because maybe I'll just have to do both or one on each. I'm not sure. And I served it with roasted chicken and stuffing, so it really was kind of like a Thanksgiving meal. It was really, really fabulous. Ree has the right ideas. All right, so this next one, you guys are going to have to tell me, is this a cheesy potato casserole, or is this technically funeral potatoes? Because I think it is, and I said I was bringing it to a party. People were like, oh, what are you going to bring? I was like, oh, it's like funeral potatoes. They're like, to a birthday party? Like, they had never heard of funeral potatoes before. So comment below if you know what I'm talking about in the little shebang. I am melting 1 tablespoon of salted butter with 1 yellow onion chopped and 2 cloves of garlic. And then you just want to cook that for about 5 minutes. And then we're going to add a whole bunch of stuff to one bowl. We have 16 ounces of sour cream, 8 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese, all of the onions and garlic that I just cooked up. That is kind of the best part. Super delicious. And then you want 2 containers of condensed cream of chicken soup. I didn't have any, so I actually made my own, and I'll put the recipe down for that in the description box. It's super easy to make your own cream of chicken soup if you're in a bind, or it's actually pretty cheap. So I'm going to put that in the description box for you so you can make your own if you want to. And then 30 ounces of frozen shredded hash browns. Those are actually going to be thawed. This one is so easy peasy. You're just going to mix everything together, and then we're going to put it in a 13x9 casserole dish and bake at 375 degrees for about 45 minutes. And then while that's baking, you want to melt 6 tablespoons of butter in a small bowl, and then combine that with about a cup of breadcrumbs. And at the end of baking, you actually want to put that breadcrumb mixture right over the top of your casserole and then bake for another 10 minutes until golden brown on top. This casserole was a crowd pleaser. The kids especially were going back for seconds and thirds. They were yelling, "We love this casserole!" So this is a big hit. It's such an easy one, and you know you're going to love it. Now I'm going to share my favorite Christmas meal with you, and this is Mississippi pot roast. You're going to need 1 chuck steak, 1 stick of butter, a packet of ranch seasoning, a packet of onion soup mix, and pepperoncinis. So this is so good, and it's so easy. It's one of those recipes that actually is dump and go. I don't know if you're like me, but I get a little frustrated when people say things are dump and go, that you have to cook this on the stove first and whatnot. No, you put this one in the pot, you put the stuff on top, and that is that. So it makes your Christmas day so easy, and it is so flavorful and mouth-watering. I am so excited to share. And just to clarify, you do need about 8 pepperoncinis with no juice, and then we're going to cook on low heat for 8 hours. And this is what it looks like when it is done. You can see an amazing mouth-watering roast. When I served this, I put it on a large white platter so that we could just slice it up on the table. And I served it with an Instant Pot red bliss mashed potato and some Parmesan green beans. This entire meal is Christmas worthy for sure, so I will make sure to link all of these recipes below for you. And this is a red wine braised short rib. Now that is a fancy Christmas dinner, and pretty simple. So I'm just cutting up 2 carrots, 2 ribs of celery, and 1 large onion. You're going to want to add about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of oil to a large pot. And in this case, I had 3 short ribs. Now the recipe calls for 5 to 6 larger ones. It was just myself, my husband, and our 2 boys eating these short ribs this night, and You know, short ribs are not cheap. It was about $25 for the 3 short ribs. So it's very expensive, like regular dinner for us. So if you wanted to double that for your Christmas dinner, it would cost around $50. I still think that's very reasonable for a fancy Christmas dinner, especially if you're having more people and there will be plenty of food. So you just want to sear your short ribs on all 4 sides, then remove them from the pot. To your hot pot, add in 3 cloves of crushed garlic. Now, I just had the minced. I didn't have like any full cloves, so I used what I had and it was still delicious. At this point, turn your heat down to medium, add your onion, and cook for about 2 minutes. Add in the rest of your vegetables and cook for about another 5 minutes until softened. Mix in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now you can see I'm pulling mine out of a bag because I often will open a can. I only need 2 tablespoons. What am I going to do with the rest? You can just throw that in the freezer in a little baggie, and then you just have it whenever you need on the go. It cooks right up. Cook that for about a minute, then add in 2 cups of beef broth, 2 cups of red wine, and then I'm adding some dried thyme. Now it does call for fresh, so if you have fresh, go ahead and use it. And then you also want to add in 2 bay leaves. Now the recipe does have an option to just keep cooking everything in that pot right there, which you can totally do. But given that this is a crock pot video, we're going to move our short ribs to the crock pot, and then we're going to pour all of that sauce right on top of there. You're going to want to cook this on low for 8 hours or high for 5 hours. I did the high setting for 5 hours and this is how it turned out. It was fall off the bone delicious. The flavors were incredible, totally worth it. Now you want to take the juices afterwards and strain it. Now I'm using a gravy separator, I think it is. And what that does is it puts all the juices down below, and then you see how the fat is kind of sitting on the top, and it will pour only the good juices to make the gravy out of the top of it. So the recipe does recommend that you take that and you pour it into a pan and boil it for about 5 to 10 minutes, and it just really reduces the sauce, and it's so delicious. So I wish I'd used Christmas plates here because this looks so lame. It was just like a random Tuesday, but it was so amazing. I did cook some potatoes in the air fryer. I could put that recipe down there for you too, but this was awesome and definitely Christmas worthy. Like everybody would rave about it. Next up, we have cranberry chicken with asparagus. This is actually a sheet pan meal, but it looks so festive and it's relatively inexpensive for a holiday meal. So I'm just gonna get started by marinating my chicken. I'm gonna be using 6 boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I had pulled out of my freezer the night before. And then I'm adding 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of honey, but I might have put a little more in here because you really can't have too much honey, right? And a sprinkle of black pepper. And then you want to mix everything together really well. If you wanted to, you could absolutely make this marinade in a bowl and then pour it over the chicken. This just happens to be my method, and after doing it I was like, I should have put it in a bowl, but that's okay. And then I'm going to marinate it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. And you could actually do this for overnight if you wanted to too. And I was probably gone for a little bit longer than 30 minutes because we took this opportunity to head out to a light show down the street in the town near us. And I'm going to post their YouTube down below for you guys because it is a really cool thing. It's one of those shows where they do the lights to the music, and they do it all for charity, and just awesome to check out, especially if you're in the New England area. Go ahead and drive over there. So I will make sure to post all of the details down below for you. So I'm just going to cover this in plastic wrap, put it in the fridge, and head out to that light show. Now, unfortunately, I can't play the music for copyright reasons, but here's a little clip of what I had posted on my Instagram. So when I got back, I got started on the rest of the dinner. So we're just going to slice up 1 whole red onion and place that on a sheet pan with a couple tablespoons of olive oil. Now you you want to add your chicken and just kind of nestle it in right over and in between those red onions. I will tell you that these red onions cook up so amazing. Like, they are soft, they are sweet. It is an incredible flavor, especially with this balsamic marinade. And then make sure that the balsamic marinade, you really get all of it onto that pan. You really want all of that to cook on those onions and on that chicken. So just go ahead and pour it on after you put your chicken onto the pan. Also making sure to kind of flatten out my chicken thighs as much as possible. This will help them to cook evenly and make sure that I don't have to keep it in the oven for too long a period of time, because if I have to keep it in there longer, my chicken may become dry. And I will tell you that if you put this in for the right amount of time, it will not be dry at all. It will be incredibly juicy. So now I'm adding, the recipe says a half a cup of fresh or frozen cranberries. I had some frozen ones left over from Thanksgiving that I had just popped in the freezer. If you didn't know you can do that, you absolutely can. And then I'm just kind of pouring them around. I'm not sure if I got a half a cup or maybe a full cup, but that amount just looked perfect, and honestly it tasted perfect. And then I'm just putting some sprigs of tarragon onto my chicken, and I just love the colors in this dish. You have the red and the green, and that's why I just think it is such a fabulous holiday meal, and it is so amazing. So you want to put this in the oven at 425 degrees for about 25 minutes. And during that time, I'm going to be making my couscous. So I have this roasted garlic and olive oil. I think that this couscous, some mashed potatoes, potentially some polenta, roasted potatoes, rice, any side would go really, really well with this, because there's a lot of juice and sauce, and I really want some sort of carb to kind of soak that up. But you know, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe cauliflower rice would be good too if you're trying to go lower carb. So I'm just following the instructions on the package and bringing 1 1/4 cups of water, the seasoning pack, and a tablespoon of olive oil to a boil. And then I'm just going to pour my couscous packet into the pot and cover for 5 minutes. During that time, I'm going to get my asparagus started. So my chicken is in the oven, and it has been for a few minutes, probably about 5 minutes. And I figure let's get the asparagus ready so that I can put the asparagus in the oven for the last 10 minutes of cooking. So I'm just chopping the ends off there. I really don't like those crispy ends of the asparagus. I know some people eat them. It's totally fine. Go ahead and leave them on if you like them. And then I'm drizzling on about 2 teaspoons of olive oil. This is kind of your taste, how much olive oil you want to have on here, and also sprinkling on some Diamond Crystal kosher salt, as well as a little bit of pepper. And then I'm popping this in the oven for 10 minutes. So basically when you have 10 minutes left on your chicken, go ahead and pop that asparagus into the oven. And then I'm slicing up 1 lemon and putting aside some garlic powder. At this point, my couscous has done, and I'm just fluffing it up with a fork, and you can see it looks delicious. I really, really enjoyed the couscous with the chicken this night, and that garlic flavor is so good too. And you can get those couscous packages on sale for $1 sometimes, so definitely watch out for those. So I'm just going to squeeze a half of a lemon onto my asparagus, and go ahead and use the other half of the lemon if you're a huge lemon fan. I like a little bit of flavor, but I'm not too crazy about it. And then I'm sprinkling about a teaspoon of garlic powder. The recipe I used did call for fresh garlic, but I just felt that would be a little bit strong, so I just wanted that simple garlic flavor on the asparagus. And then I'm going to sprinkle on some Parmesan cheese. I have this huge container of Parmesan cheese from BJ's, but you can use whatever type of parm that you like. Or if you're trying to go vegan with these asparagus, you can definitely use nutritional yeast. I think that would be quite good. So I'm just gonna mix everything around here, and out comes my chicken. This chicken is so incredible. The flavor is amazing, and I really love that there is just not too much sugar in it. That balsamic flavor is so savory. The tarragon gives it this, it's almost like a light licorice flavor, but I don't even like licorice, so I hesitate to say that, but it was so good. The cranberries are absolutely fabulous, and this asparagus, it is so simple and so amazing. This meal, aside from the marinade, cooks in 30 minutes or less. Once you get started with everything in the oven, it just moves along. So it's just such an amazing meal to make in such a quick period of time. My husband and I could not stop talking about it. And this particular night, my kids had eaten sandwiches ahead of time, but we just absolutely loved this. And I do have some for lunch today, and that's pretty much all I'm thinking about, especially as I watch this video. So I really hope that you're able to make this for your family and that this was a helpful recipe for you. I want to thank you so much for watching today. I hope you got some great holiday inspiration. Make sure to click on this next video to keep the inspiration going, and I'll see you all very soon.
I've been waiting all my life for someone like you, like you.